Audio good for everybody?
Yep.
Ready to go? Of course, I'll answer any questions that you might have at the end. Just a few announcements. As you've probably seen, there's 39 positive cases in Clinton County. The good news is they're able to do a little bit more testing. I think, let's see, they did 25 tests in the last day rather than the usual about a dozen they've been averaging. So that's an improvement. From the press release from the Clinton County Health Department today, they said one of the problems had been not in the lack of tests, but in the lack of the containers they have to attach the tests in when they send them to the labs, which seems like something they should have been able to solve. So it looks like they've got that figured out, and hopefully more testing will be on their way. But even so, that works out to about 0.02% of our population tested each day, whereas the state average is 0.12%, 6 times higher still. So we still are worried that we need to get more of those test kits up here and more of those 15 minutes tests that the president promised. I think once we can do that, that'll make a world of difference in us really understanding how this disease is penetrating our community, and we'll really start making some progress. But I'm very pleased with the progress we've made in this area. So far, nobody's died. As you may have heard, there's still suspect cases of people who've died of respiratory failure, but without tests for sure. In the autopsy, we don't quite know whether there's COVID-19 related, but it's highly suspect though. Not nearly the kind of deaths they're seeing in the New York City region. I think they're up to 7,067 deaths of New Yorkers in total, and the single worst day of 799 today. Even though hospitalizations are now dropping, fewer people going into the hospital than are coming out. That's a really good sign. But the deaths are related to people that were in a week or two earlier and are now kind of going through that system. Nationwide, New York is still about half the deaths of the country, although New Jersey is really getting hit pretty seriously. We're going to move up to the 500,000 positive tests in the country tomorrow or the next day, and about the 17,000 death mark. And in the rest of the world, I think about 1.5 million have been afflicted as of today, and they're approaching the 100,000 mark worldwide by tomorrow or the weekend. So these are scary times. The governor has been working hard to ensure that there's now a $600 bonus for people going on unemployment insurance. He's promised many more staffers to file or to process those claims. I think nationwide there's been 6 or 7 million claims this week alone, really accelerating to the point where there's far more unemployment claims already through this last few weeks as there was in the great crash back in 2010, the Great Recession. So this continues to accelerate across the country and in New York State as well. Governor shares a lot of concerns that I also share for our own region. First of all, on the human toll. You know, economists ruthlessly calculate, and for legal purposes, the federal government calculates the value of a human life is about $10 million. We could have easily lost between 2 and 6 million people in this pandemic across the country, and that works out to the size of our economy annually many, many, many times over. So clearly the loss of lives is really what is most important here, but there's an awful lot of economic damage being done as well that we're going to have to take a lot of time to recover from. People losing their livelihoods. Just I'm grateful they haven't lost their lives up here yet. So we're going to need to really work on that. The governor's worried that at the state level, he's looking at about $10 to $15 billion hole in finances that he's going to have to fix. He's contemplating layoffs, but also talking about wage freezes, no pay raises at the state level for the next 90 days. While he evaluates and figures out where he's going to get that money to pay the bills. Obviously, revenue's down for him. One of the things I realized today is because we moved our state tax day to match the new federal tax day, July 15th, that means all the revenue coming in to the state government before April 15th, and really right up to the end of the second quarter, a lot of that no longer exists. That money coming in from people that owe money to the government, of course, they're going to delay to as long as they possibly can into July. And yet all the people who are going to get tax rebates, they're going to get that money nice and early. So that's really putting the state in a bind as well. And the lack of spending, state receives about our 8% sales tax. State receives about half of that, and the other half is divided between counties and municipalities. So we're all hurting because sales taxes are dropping as well. So the state's in a bit of an economic pickle right now, and so are the cities and the municipalities as well. Our revenue sources are drying up and our expenses are accelerating, including things like pensions that we have to fund, as the pensions are so heavily invested in the stock market, et cetera, as well. So there's an awful lot of economic pain that's going along with all the social and human pain that's occurring right now as well. But I think the real good news for our community is, if you compare our experience in the 3-county region, Franklin, Essex, and Clinton County, we started earlier here. We had the first cases in all of upstate New York, or all of northern New York, the North Country, and fortunately just didn't get the grip here as it has in other communities. You all know that we put on some really drastic measures very early on, around March 11th or 12th. We asked the nursing homes to please close. We closed our gyms and recreation centers. We sent our workers home, and the state followed suit very quickly thereafter. And I think that's really spared our community some of the real suffering that you see in Saratoga County, even in St. Lawrence County, certainly in Vermont and Quebec, much more suffering there than we've had. And I give the credit to everybody who's really exercised really good social distancing, and they're wearing masks like this, as simple as this, in our region as well. And I think that's making all the difference to make sure we're not accelerating ahead like these other communities are. So I'm very, very grateful for everything everybody's done to make this happen in the city of Plattsburgh. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have too.
Could you talk a little bit just about how the curfew went this weekend?
Well, as you probably heard, we had some complaints. There still are some gatherings, and our police force is out there trying to educate people. We don't want to fine people. As you know, we always have the power to enforce the governor's order that states that there's supposed to be absolutely no unessential gatherings of any sort. There's no, some people say, well, that's a 10-person limit, et cetera. No, it's unessential gatherings of any sort. And he spells out including parties, et cetera. But we want our police to use education. So they've been out in the public all weekend long. It was a wonderful weekend last weekend. They've been out in the public trying to educate. I don't think they've had to issue any fines, but we would be willing to, if we're trying to protect the public, be willing to fine and do the maximum enforcement the governor allows if necessary. But I really hope it's not necessary. I think people just need to get the message.
And are you looking in the future, do you think, to do another one of those curfews if there's a nice weekend again, or?
I'd love to. We're a college community, and the young people would like to get out when the weather's good. And you've all seen that. All of a sudden the parties increase come late April and early May. With the curfews, I've asked the governor's office. They've required us to get special permission to do any emergency orders right now. So I've asked the governor's office to please let us do curfews. We believe they're working. And as you know, they're very limited. They're really only getting at those people that are going out to play rather than for essential things. And I've also asked to have permission to insist that everybody wears a mask in public if they can't maintain the social distancing we're maintaining here. I think these are simply measures that will save lives. Other communities have adopted stuff like curfews and mask policies after us. I think another North Country community just adopted one yesterday. So we're still hoping that that will be broken out. We can start renewing those orders again.
And when do you expect to hear back from the governor's office about doing other curfews?
I'll keep trying. As you know, I haven't been able to reissue my emergency order. They said I could reissue an emergency suggestion, but emergency suggestions just don't have the same power as an emergency order, and don't have the same power of enforcement for that matter either. So as you all know, I issue emergency suggestions every day with a daily briefing and a short little video on what's working and what we need to work more on. I think most of the people are getting it, but the ability to do an order really makes a difference to those last few individuals that just really are having a hard time still getting the point about how important it is to not pass the disease off from one household to to another. That's all we're trying to do here. Keep a household level and not passing from household to household. So I'll keep trying.
Thank you.
In the town of Plattsburgh, I know it was recently announced that there would be random business inspections. Should there be any of that happening in the city, do you think? Are there any plans for that other panel?
We've had to go out in a few instances to do enforcement on businesses, but not very many at all. I can only think of 2 offhand. I think we got the message out really early on. We did the social distancing or somewhere around March 17th or 16th or so. So I think we're kind of used to doing that now. And at the same time, if you recall, the governor's order was, we'll still go to your grocery stores. As a matter of fact, after that, grocery stores and big box stores were just overrun with customers trying to stock up, etc. So we've been at it a little bit longer. I hope that whole wave of people feeling they need to stock up is kind of over. So now the town, I think, is kind of now getting around to doing their enforcement, coming at it a little bit later. So I can imagine they've got a little bit of a bigger task ahead of them than we had with ours. I think most all of our businesses really got it long ago. I'm grateful that they're doing it, though. None of us are isolated in this. If somebody from the town gets infected and comes to the city, and then somebody from the city spreads it to somebody else in the city, we're all in the same boat, and we all should really be aspiring to do just what the town is doing. Anything else? Well, good luck. Keep yourself safe and make sure you're wearing those masks. I know I saw you wearing gloves earlier today too. That's a good sign. And keep it up. I was saying yesterday that I don't know if you know it, but you all are getting the word out, and that's a really important part of this whole education process for social distancing. And it's a hard job and all that, but there's no doubt that you guys are saving lives by getting that word out. I think the death rate in Clinton County should be, well, we've had no official deaths yet. If this disease had run its course in Clinton County, if we didn't do the social distancing and the closing of public spaces, etc., I would estimate that it could have taken upwards of 1,000 to 2,000 lives in Clinton County alone, given the average death rate in this country is about 2.2%. So 1,000, 2,000 lives, we've lost no lives whatsoever right now. And that's because people are doing social distancing, but the way they're finding out about this is through the media. So you all are saving lives. You're really an important part in all this. And I was mentioning yesterday, we can go through our entire life never having saved one life, but now we're playing roles in saving hundreds and thousands of lives. So that's really, really significant work that you all are doing. So keep it up, and you're risking yourselves in doing it because you're out there when other people are sitting at home staying safe. So please keep it up. It's really making a huge difference in our community.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Vermont's still getting hit hard, isn't it? Boy.
A little bit. I think this is one of the few days where there have been any deaths.
Yeah. A couple of your nursing homes got hit from
Yeah.
Fortunately, we did close the nursing homes really early on, and nobody in the nursing home, no one died at all. I don't think any nursing homes even bothered yet.
Yeah, they were kind of the epicenter in the state for everything in Burlington, and then.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah, it is.
I think the chances of somebody in the vulnerable group surviving, I mentioned 2.2% of the population are dying in the general population. But if you're in that vulnerable population, close to 20% or so, it's just terrible.
Horrible.
One person I know, he came out of intensive care and he's now home. He's going to be on oxygen for about the next month with pneumonia. But if you go into intensive care, there's probably about a 50-50 chance you go on a ventilator. You know all the sort of ventilators. Once you go on a ventilator, there's only about 20 to 40% chance you're gonna survive at that point.
Yeah.
And if you do survive, heavy liver, heart damage, that may be with you for the rest of your life, so.
Jeez.
This is just such a terrible, terrible disease. It's not like, some people say it's just like the flu, it's not like the flu at all.
No.
It's really,
Yeah,
really
no.
scary.
It's changed so much in the last few weeks. I remember one of the first stories I did on Corona about a month ago was when Meadowbrook was closing their doors to all visitors. And other nursing homes in the area were like, oh, that might be a little extreme. But then a week later, it was like, nope, that's not extreme. That's what we're all doing. So,
Yeah,
Crazy
yeah.
how fast it
yep.
all multiplies.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Very scary stuff.
Yeah, but getting through it.
Yep, exactly.